Thank you very much, Mr. Mateen. Thank you, all the organizers, particularly CCI, AACC, and of course the Afghan Partners. I just don't know if you all could appreciate how much could be achieved through these meetings. I think a lot is being achieved. Only, I have one point maybe I'll mention later. We do need to keep up the good work and keep up the continuity. Until the point that our discussions and ideas becomes more practical and in fact practiced on the ground. Before that, my presentation, which was yesterday, due to some misunderstanding, it was not fed into the computer to be put on the line. They will ask me actually to review it again. I will be taking a few minutes of your time, not far. Well, the presentation was mainly about my nightmare. I call it nightmare. It's the shortage of skilled workers. It is a nightmare for all those who are concerned with not only construction, but any other economic sector which requires skilled workers. It could be industry, it could be agriculture, it could be many other sectors, mines. So any sector, technical sector, requires sufficient number of skilled workers in Afghanistan. It's not easy to import thousands and thousands of skilled workers, even if you can. Moreover, by importing them, we are defeating the major purpose that is providing jobs for the Afghans. That means sustainability of Afghan economy. Anyway, the concept is based on the fact that some facts available are that. Number one, there are my major 5 sectors which I'm looking at: agriculture, mines, production industry, commerce and business, and of course construction. All these areas require sufficient number of skilled workers, which unfortunately still don't have it. The capacity of training skilled workers is there, but very limited. The total capacity, according to my information, is annually not more than 4,000 to 5,000 persons, and it's only in limited sectors. Moreover, as I said yesterday, this year we graduated over 170,000 high school students, which could only absorb maximum 50,000 to the universities and higher studies. Over 120,000 are jobless and are idle. And this number is, according to the Minister of Education, increasing every year. We expect in 6 years, 7 years, that this figure will go to 900,000. Now, what will we do with all these Afghans? That's what I call the army of instability. And this is a big challenge for all of us. So, the best way for them is that to start a very effective and wide range of skilled workers training, what we call it generally technical vocational training. So these people are ready to take some very important jobs and be more sustainable in running those jobs. This, of course, is not something new in Afghanistan or in the region, but many other nations have took so many times to really resolve the situation, but we in the past 10 years were not very much aware of this fact, or at least didn't give much attention. The TVT training, what we call it, major preparation is needed. Number one, and most important, is training the master trainers. For the first phase, which will later come how much it is, we need anything between 1,000 to 1,200 trainers to be trained. Plus, of course, infrastructure for the new schools, new locations, and of course, equipment for training. Not to mention the funds for managing this whole operation. Well, the standardized construction of local construction materials is also another thing. We in Afghanistan, most of us know that we have some basic local traditional construction material being produced. But unfortunately, they are not standardized. They cannot be trusted very much. Moreover, of course, they have to be expanded. And if we are to expand it and improve it more, then we need to create a code for it, which ANSA is already doing it. And with that code, each of these items will be within the standard. If not, will not be accepted in the market. So the construction companies, the engineers, when they buy something in the market, they are sure of their quality. And they are sure of their preparation and of course the dimensions. Now, these are the two major areas that we have to work on it, but to see how to do it. As far as the construction industry, as I said, we might need something like 20 to 22 different areas for all these 5 sectors which I mentioned to train the students. Only in the construction sector we need 12 to 15 different specialties. I don't have to go into details for it, don't want to take much of our time. Starting from masonry to plumbing to electricity to IT, etc., etc. So all these areas got to be covered. Now, how we implement this? We have proposed a total of 9 years and 3 phases. The first 3 years, improving or increasing the capacity of Kabul training centers from 5,000 to 20,000. And of course, establishing 6 more centers in the major, what we call zonal provinces, or major provinces, which 3 are in the north, 3 in the south. The north one is Kunduz, Mazar-e-Sharif, Iraq, and the south is Jalalabad, Khost, and Kandahar. Each of these will, in these 3 years, establish centers for 5,000 trainees. That will be a total of 30,000 plus with Kabul, a total of 50,000 per year. If we do everything okay, then by the end of 3rd year, we will be able to produce annually 50,000. In the second phase, we are still within the same location, but we have to improve both the quality and the quantity. That is, the Kabul should increase from 20,000 to 40,000, and the 6 provinces each should increase from 5,000 to 10,000, then a total of 100,000. On the 3rd phase, which will start on the 7th year, we, beside this 100,000, go to other 28 provinces. Each of them should have at least 3,000 capacity annually to be producing trained workers. So a total of something roughly like 200,000 will be produced. According to our estimate of requirement, the number of required are much, much bigger. But since we have been producing it continuously, we hope that within the 10 years, we will be just coming to the point of self-sufficiency to a good level. I don't want to further emphasize that, how much important it is, because most of you people are here in the construction sector, and you know the nightmare when you are planning a program for a construction program and looking for the skilled workers, still you cannot find the right person. Anyway, I don't want to further take your time. This is a small introduction to this very important project. I consider this my personal responsibility to push it. But definitely it's not one-man job, it's all of us have to work together. Now, after that, I would like to come to review our 2 days work together. One of the big problems that we have, Afghans I'm talking, we Afghans have a saying, if you don't know how much you don't know, then you are stupid. This is the definition of stupidity in Afghanistan. An intelligent person is the person who knows how much he does not know. This is where the big question lies. When you are starting a big program, developing projects, huge developing processes, you have to know how much shortage you have, how much problem you have. And then, of course, how you solve it. Without such an approach, generally it happens, but many mistakes that we committed in the past 10 years. 2.5 years back, I had a very long discussion with the president when he wanted me to join this position. And I told him, look, I have to tell you 3 things. I said, one of the biggest challenges of today Afghanistan is that we are at a crossroad. We're at the crossroad of history. We have to make major decisions. As far as the political decision is concerned, I told him I don't know much because I'm not a politician, unfortunately or fortunately. I'm more technocrat. I told him that I can help you more discussing the technical part of it. I said, today Afghanistan, the Afghan government, and you as the head of the government have 3 big swords to fight the future of Afghanistan successfully. Number 1 sword is the geopolitical position of Afghanistan. If you really understand that and make best use of it, then you are the most successful government, you are the most successful nation. I don't have to go into details that. This geopolitical position has started with the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the whole region that Afghanistan is lying there is trying to readjust itself. And for this readjustment, Afghanistan, like geographically is center, for the whole preparation it could be a center. Like yesterday, Honorable John said that very clearly, that Afghanistan is not the end of the road. It's the hub of the activities. I mean, there is another alternative to the hub. It's up to us whether to want to make it a dead end or a hub. Number 2, I told him number 2 sword is your minds. At that time, we don't know much of the trillions, but I also told him that billions and billions of dollars are there under the earth. But we Afghans don't have the capacity technically, financially, and even managerially to make use of it. So we have to choose the right person, the right country, and the right company to make sure that they effectively carry on this work. To us, it's not the exact amount of money coming to Afghanistan. That's of course important. The most important thing is that how much jobs I can create for my people, for how long. That's the sustainability of it. So I told him that, in short, that if we really work with this soul properly, Afghanistan will be one of the best economy in the next 10, 15 years. But if you go the wrong way, we will be giving another Congo, creating Congo in Afghanistan. Number 3, which I don't want to go further in that, is the water of Afghanistan. Afghanistan is producing a huge amount of water as far as its needs are concerned. According to our estimates, which might not be the final estimates, of course, it needs still further study, anything between 60 to 70 billion meter cubes are produced every year in average precipitation. With all our waste in our existing agriculture, irrigation, which I think everybody knows that, of course we still don't have much of industrial use of water, except the domestic use. Our animal consumption is anything between 12 to 15 billion meter cube. International practices is telling us that Afghanistan has the right to claim 50% of this at least. That means something like 30 to 35 billion meter cube we can claim. And according to our vision planning, the Afghan population by 2050 and 2060 will be around 70 million. If we improve our agriculture system, irrigation system, and of course industrial requirements and domestic use, the total amount consumption could be anything around 25 billion meter cube. We will still have a surplus of 10 billion meter cube. By 2060, the water issue will be such a great trouble in the world that I'm sure that Afghanistan can buy 10 countries with $10 billion, maybe 20 more, if they really make good use of it. But personally, I told them, I believe, and I still believe it as a human being, the water, I said, is not the property of a single nation, a single person. It's the property of humanity. If a country has got more water, it does not have the right to waste it. They have to keep it for the future generations of humanity, not only this country. So these are the three areas that we have to really concentrate. And there's the basic foundation of the economy, not of Afghanistan, but it could be the region. And a prosperous Afghanistan, I'm sure, will contribute to the stability of the region and the stability of the whole world eventually. We already see the other side of it. A poor Afghanistan, unstable Afghanistan, unsafe Afghanistan is already created unsafe in the region and, of course, to the world, as far as America was affected with the trouble created in Afghanistan. I don't need to emphasize that part. Anyway, our struggle in Afghanistan is not mainly against terrorism. It's true that we all the time talk about it. It's against poverty, prevailing poverty. If we really fight poverty in Afghanistan effectively, I'm sure that terrorism could be easily ousted. No doubt, the pure security is a challenge for any economic development projects. But to me today in Afghanistan, a much worse challenge for our development program is the corruption. Corruption within the Afghan government, and not to mention it very strongly, within our partners. I don't care who is doing more, but it's there. We have to do something about it, to clean ourselves and clean our environment from corruption. It will restore the confidence of the people of Afghanistan, in the confidence of the international community, in the Afghans and the Afghan involved people for the development of Afghanistan. Second most important challenge is the shortage of human and equipment resources. I think you all know, I don't have to emphasize that part. Negative effects of prevailing corruption, with some details, could be discussed, but I don't think that I should go there. All I say is that peace and stability in Afghanistan depends on three major points: security, of course, eradication of poverty, and capacity shortage have got to be removed. So if we work on these three major points, I'm sure that we will reach a more successful conclusion. Fortunately, we have certain things already coming up, like the working characters which is just mentioning in these meetings and mentioning outside, particularly our international partners, like Afghans first. This is a very good idea, but provided that the Afghans also understand that and cooperate. It's not a one-way traffic, it has got to be two-way traffic. I really thank AINDA for this program, which has started a new program on basis of this idea. And they are going to much more remote areas. Of course, their work is rather limited, initiated through ISOP, but if it's expanded and if implemented successfully, we can easily see the effect of it. Continued transparent watching of the situation is needed. If we don't convince our donors, if we don't convince our people that there is sufficient level of transparency as far as fighting the corruption is concerned and malpractice is concerned, then we are defeating the whole purpose. Now, for that reason, I think in what they call a transition, the word transition is creating a lot of concern among the Afghans, some Afghans I should say, and some international communities involved in Afghan development. But frankly, I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic for two reasons. First, as an Afghan, I have no alternative but to be optimistic. Number two, I think there are some positive points in it. After 2014, and after we cross the transition period, definitely, there is no doubt, a big amount of economic activities will continue maybe in a much successful way. But I'm explaining and in a way warning our Afghan partners, the contractors, the companies, they have to adjust themselves from today. The condition definitely will change as far as the direction of the investment is concerned, the methodology is concerned. There will be no possibility for the donors to give you all the time a priority line. You have to prepare yourself after 2015 for total open competition. I know 2 years might not be a big period for people like the Afghan small enterprises, but you have to do it. You have to prepare yourself. So this is one challenge that's waiting for you people. Also, we should be concentrating on maximum use of local resources. Like already I report that some of the sources of, for example, the ISAF and the US Army is trying to make maximum use of the local resources. But this still has got to increase much further. Now, making use of the local resources does not mean that you are going to dig it from under the ground. And it means there should be a parallel movement to prepare local resources in the market so that people can easily have access to it. Anyway, these are the main points, but generally I'm coming to these concluding points. Number one, I think it's very obvious the effect of these two meetings that we had during the past 6-7 months is quite positive. But I request Mr. Lateen and his team that we have to continue the good work with one or two suggestions. Number one, it will be much better if the condition allows, the next meeting should be in Kabul. Some of our ministers did not come today because there is what we call the Kabul conference. Tomorrow is the Kabul conference starting. So this, because of those reasons, a couple of ministers could not come. I'm not sure if you're aware, including the Kabul mayor was busy with their preparation. If we were in Kabul, we would definitely have all of these people with us there. But in the future, the effect of such meeting in discussions and going to the local media, to the local people, itself is a big step to create awareness among our own people. So that's why I would suggest that, if possible, to have the next meeting. It does not mean that we should have all the next meetings there, but at least the next meeting should be in Kabul, whatever time it is. Number 2 point, I suggest that we should create, before the end of today, small groups, 3-4 persons, to work on smaller projects or bigger projects, and give them a task, and this will be task force. For the next meeting, they should come out with their conclusion. What I mean is that we people here should not end up everything tonight. Okay, we go home, and then after 6 months we meet again to start from zero. No. We should take homeworks based on certain studies already. Each team could be headed by 1 or 2 persons, 4, 5, 6 areas, important areas. So next time that we meet, each team should bring their results of what they are requested. I'm sure that it will have a much more positive effect, these studies, and will bring much more important points to the light. And if decided and we agreed upon in the next meeting, should directly go to implementation. Number 3, A big program is needed how to deal with the shortage of capacity. In all sorts. I was talking of shortage of capacity in the skilled workers, but this is only one sector. So many other sectors are concerned. Also, beside the TVT program, some more training programs are needed, which a team should be actually established to come up with concrete suggestions. One of the big areas that we still have to concentrate is to develop the capacity of the Afghan construction companies. I know that the Afghan companies through EBA have traveled long distance to the positive side, but they still need more attention to really go to the point that by 2015 they should be able to take much bigger responsibilities. I have only two suggestions at this moment. First, they have to work out long-term programs, not rather than short-term. Second, they have to work out for coming together, creating more bigger associations, that bigger capacities rather than small companies. Let 5, 10, 6 companies come together and make an association so that they could lift much bigger weights and programs. But still, small business needs more attention, because if you create bigger business, there are still smaller activities to be going on, more people has got to be entering in the arena. So the small business, small groups still needs much more attention to be helped capacity-wise. And of course, giving it. In this case, particularly, I am requesting IMDA to push their own programs much wider. Basic policy should be, you're just, for such an activities, you cannot just push the people by force. You help those who are helping themselves. Those who are ready to be helped should be the first. Those who are not ready, they have to wait, or maybe they will totally lose. I would rather see small-scale activities but sustainable for a longer time, rather than big-scale activity and all of a sudden after one project with themselves. So those groups, those teams, those companies, though it might be smaller, who are planning for a sustainable and long-term program and successfully they push it, I prefer those than compared to those who are coming for a big project and then disappears. These are some of the major points which I just mentioned. I don't want to go further into details. Once again, I thank everybody. I believe that this process of these 2-3 meetings was one of the most effective technical approach in many developing areas of Afghanistan, particularly construction and of course procurement. And these are two areas which were very, very much needed in Afghanistan in the past 10 years and will be much more needed in the future 10-15 years. What I mean is that we still need to expand it, specialize it, and refine it, and even upgrade it. Wish you all the best. As I said, that we Afghans have no choice but to go ahead. So we will be going ahead despite of all the problems, but definitely we need help from our international friends, as we did have for the past 10 years. But we have to make much better use of this help during the next 10 years. Thank you very much.